My name is Chris Stachinelli. I get to build, buy, and sell simple profit businesses every single day. And today we're going to be talking about making simple bets in our business and how we can reduce risk in terms of long-term decisions based on short-term, simple, affordable bets. So talking about simple bets, the first thing that we want to jump into is if you watch this video to the end, or even you don't have to actually, you can just go to the link in the description here. You can actually get our template that we use over at Bootstrapper Capital for simple bets. This is where we run experiment-based simple bets, and we've created a really simple template that you can actually adopt yourself so you can structuralize the simple bets that you're making inside of your business. In today's video, we're going to be talking about why you should take this approach. And if you choose to do so, the Teach, Train, Equip, the equip function is you can adopt this template for free over at shop.bootstrappercapital.com. Just follow the link below. And we're going to get right on into why making simple bets is an important and valuable decision or a smart decision for you to make in your business, right? So when we're talking about simple bets, we're really talking about taking an experiment-based approach, right? So back in science class, go back to high school, we were taught, taking hypotheses or getting to a hypothesis and then running experiments to be able to test, right? So we had our control, what we know to be true, and then we have a hypothesis or a thesis that we want to prove or disprove, and we're trying to make these simple, small variations, these actions that show us whether or not, we're correct and we're right or we're wrong, right? No different inside of your business. So inside of our businesses, we have this control, and the control is really the day-to-day, right? That's our standard cadence of operations, right? We hopefully have a flow, a business system in which we know so that we can put profit in our pocket, right? The way things are today. The goal is to optimize over time, always be optimizing because we're always exiting. And we want to exit for more, right? We want to unlock value inside of our business. And realistically, when we're optimizing, we're really optimizing for the people inside of our company, because the reality is there's probably simple or a simpler version of the processes that we follow or the ways in which we get outcomes that could probably make it a little bit easier for the people inside of our business. So if we optimize for people, we make it simple, keep it simple. Simple works, but simple is not always easy. And by keeping it simple, we can potentially, help folks get more done faster and maybe a little bit more of an enjoyable manner. And because of that, they're happier, and happy people tend to deliver happy customers, right? And great people build great businesses. So we always want to optimize around our people. And this is one way in which we can, right? So when we're talking about taking an experiment-based approach, we're really talking about putting discipline, right, and setting frameworks for disciplined decision making when we're running these experiments, because we need to know the knowns, we need to know the parameters in which we're operating in, and then we need to test these things out so that the information we get back, we can validate and verify whether or not we're right or wrong, right? So that's what we're trying to do here. So that means setting firm timelines. When is something going to start? When is something going to finish? The most common thing in terms of an error that we see folks make when running simple bets is not setting firm timelines for finish. And when you're setting a full firm timeline for finish, that means being pragmatic and realistic with how much time will this experiment take. Another mistake that we oftentimes see is folks not allocating enough time. So sometimes there's no timeline. So it's like an indefinite experiment. How do we know what is if we don't have a timeline finish, right? A goal line. And then sometimes folks will just allocate not enough time. So we don't actually have enough time to let the experiment mature, and then the results aren't valid, right? So we want to make sure that we have firm timelines. We also want to make sure that we have very clear and firm budgets, right? Because we're running profit-led businesses, and all of the experiments that we're running are all tied inside of our North Star budget, right? Because we know how much profit is flowing through our business by running profit-led financials and running our profit-led waterfall and running our profit-led North Star budget. We're able to take the extra profit that we have and then budget for these simple experiments. So we're not spending money or investing money that we don't necessarily have. We're investing money within the framework of what we know we can afford. And then we're running these simple experiments to be able to optimize our business over time. And that keeps the profit in our pocket while we're still optimizing and growing and scaling our business. So we want to make sure that we have very clear budgets. Another area where we sometimes see folks, not necessarily have that discipline in place, and it all starts somewhere. And the place that starts is organizing around profit, right? So we have other videos on our YouTube channel around organizing for profit, and we got a lot of different templates and worksheets that you can adopt in terms of being able to do so. The next thing that we're going to be doing is setting simple objectives. The objectives, that's the goal, right? So again, you always want to have a goal line. It's the thesis in which we're testing out, right? So we want to achieve something specific, right? We want to have smart goals, smart objectives, and it gives us the why, right? Why are we doing it? Why do we even care? And if it's not you doing it and you're delegating these experiments out to people because you've already built up a team, maybe you're an exit 2, exit 3 stage business, and you have a team of people and you're running a business system and you're trying to optimize your system, that's exit 3. You're delegating this stuff and it's not you doing it. So the people that you're delegating to, they need to know why they should care, right? So it should be very simple in terms of the objectives that we're trying to achieve, why it's important to us, why we care, the purpose, and then tied to that are targets, because we need to measure what matters. And the only way we can determine whether or not our experiments are working is if we're actually benchmarking those with targets, right? So some folks will call these KPIs, key performance indicators, right? Things that are indicating the success as to whether or not, but it doesn't need to necessarily be a KPI. It just needs to be something that you can measure that matters, right? So you want to measure what matters with every experiment that you're running. So you know whether or not you're benchmarking and if it's working or not working, because that's what we're trying to do here is we're trying to optimize by proving or disproving whether or not this thesis, or these actions, these new actions that we're taking, which then ties it back to the next bullet, which is setting simple process, right? The reality is everything in life you can never guarantee outcomes, but you can always control your process. So that's why in our businesses, when we're building profit-led businesses, we want to run profit-led processes, right? We want to control the process. That's why we're so fanatical in terms of mapping out process and being able to control that, because, reality is like, if you want to get somewhere in life, you follow a certain number of steps, right? Whether it's like you going somewhere, driving somewhere. If I want to go to Disney right now, I pull up a map. I can get there if I just follow the process of the roads, if I, take the journey. If I want to bake a cake, I follow the recipe. With business, if you want profit, you follow the process, right? So you want profit-led processes, and everything that you're doing with these experiments, you want to map out what folks are intended or meant to do, because what you're trying to experiment is whether if these actions are taken, the targets are achieved, right? So you're mapping the process to target. Just like when we do it inside of our business on a day-to-day basis, when we're doing process mapping inside of our business. And we have other videos, that go into the process mapping component, right? Again, all of these things are tied from target to process to then making sure that we actually are collecting the data so that we can measure what matters. Because we have our objectives in place, because we have our targets clear, because we're mapping the process, the next step is to gather the data and then populate it so that we can actually measure what matters. It's the ability to measure what matters that allows us to, next bullet, run retrospectives. And a retrospective is really just a fancy word for saying, hey, did this thing work, right? So when the firm timeline that you set, right? Again, we're setting firm timelines of start and finish. When the thing is finished, something that you're adding to your accountability calendar, right? Because we have our calendar of accountability, our cadence, right? So that we can hold ourselves accountable, because it's structure, strategies, and accountabilities that get us to simple, profitable outcomes, right? When we set our start and our finish, the other thing we're adding is the day in which we're having our conversation around our retrospective. We're running our retrospective. And that's ideally within the same week that we finished. And what we're doing in this retrospective is we're looking back at all of the structure around this experiment, and we're analyzing and we're assessing the metrics, right? And we're looking at what we measured, and we're determining whether or not this thing worked. Now, the good news is inside of this experiment template, we have all of this stuff mapped out. So we've made it super simple, right? Simple work, simple is not always easy. This template is like more than you really kind of need, but it makes sure that you have all the training wheels. So it's putting the right frameworks in place in terms of identifying and then capturing the right level of information for you to run these experiments. And it's prompting you with the right level of questions. Once you do this once or twice, you'll get a good framework of this is what it is. And then you'll be able to simplify even further for what it is for you and your business, right? And you'll make it your own. So this is just a getting started template. Then eventually, ideally, you're going to adopt it and then turn it into your own. And that's how you're going to be able to learn, optimize, and win consistently over time by making these simple bets inside of your business, right? That is the act of optimization. So again, when we're talking about simple bets, we're talking about making small investments within our budget, within our profit-led budget, that allow us in a short period of time, because they're time constrained, very clear start, very clear finish, allow us to experiment so that we can determine off of information and data, right? We're making data-driven decisions. That's why we measure what matters. Whether or not something works, right, before we go all in it, so that we can help reduce risk, right? Everything that we do when we're running our profit-led businesses, everything that we're focused on is how do you take risk off the table? Because if you can mitigate the risk, right? If you can get rid of the risk, if you can ring fence the risk, if you can take risk off the table, what you're left with is the upside, right? So what we're trying to do in these small investments is mitigate the risk of our big long-term investment, which is our business, right? The business is the big bet, right? So we're trying to reduce risk into making better long-term decisions. And at the end of the day, business comes down to our ability as business owners to make good, timely decisions. They need to be good decisions. They also need to be timely decisions, right? So you need to make good, timely decisions, and then ideally also delegate those good, timely decisions to others, or empower others to make good, timely decisions. Helping others on your team, the act of facilitating others to be able to run these types of small investments, these types of simple bets, it really empowers your team to achieve more. Because what you're doing is you're instilling discipline. You're helping them understand budget, right? You're helping them understand the profit-led picture of your business, and then you're allocating a specific set budget. So you're empowering them with financial responsibility of the business, which means that they have a deeper level of connection in terms of why and the purpose and what's going on, right? So that's a very powerful and empowering thing. Then you're empowering them with the structure, the strategies, and the accountability to go get it done. So you're delegating that responsibility. This is a great way for you to teach, train, equip up members of your team to take on more responsibility, and then hopefully, partner with you over the long period of time to make better, timely decisions inside of your business, right? I actually just run a simple bet myself. I did it on LinkedIn. This is a build in public. We definitely believe in building in public. And I had this concept for a simple bet. I'll also throw it out here. So this is the moment in time of the video where I'm going to pitch an idea, a simple bet that we're running, and see if maybe you'd be interested in getting involved, right? So I've observed with Bootstrapper Capital, our portfolio of businesses that we're building over at Simple Holdings, the community that we're building at Bootstrapper Community, we obviously see a lot of different types of businesses. And a lot of the businesses that we see are B2B service-based businesses. We get pitched all the time. And we're also, we also very actively, research what we do in our market a ton. So we're really kind of like students, of our craft. So we are observing a ton of stuff. And what we've been seeing is a lot of folks out there that are kind of selling services, or they're positioning services, marketing services for solutions to business owners, that I'm sitting here being like, hey, have you ever really done that yourself? Right? Have you ever actually, do you live that life? Like, we've been living this life for the past decade plus every single day, building, buying, and selling. And I'm like, man, that offer, that sounds a little bit maybe too good to be true. Or, you're saying these certain things that you're going to be able to acquire leads at a certain price, or you're going to, provide these ghostwriting services for me and build my brand, on these things. How are you even capturing the information and knowledge and expertise and then communicating that to the audience in the right way? Like, these different thoughts come to my mind when I hear it. I'm just like, is this going to be risky? Right? Are you just selling risk to business owners? So I wanted to make a simple bet myself and collect a whole bunch of case studies. So almost like allocate a finite amount of money within a finite amount of time, find these service providers, maybe some, right? Have you send them to us, right? So we want our audience, we want our community of business, profit-led business owners to find some of these service providers. We'll hire them. I'll invest my money, a finite amount of capital, like maybe 5K or something like that per service. And we'll run an experiment. We'll run a simple bet. We'll put these service providers, these solution providers, into a simple bet framework. And we'll give them a set amount of time, 30 days, probably something like that. Maybe some of them will need a quarter, right? And we'll give them budget. And then the framework within the experiment itself will run the experiment, and we'll measure what matters. We'll tie it to goals and objectives, targets. We'll have them map process in terms of what they're doing. And then we'll measure what matters, and we'll run a retrospective at the end of it and turn that retrospective into a case study. So almost like an Angie's List, but for B2B service providers. And the goal here is, like, by us doing this and making these simple bets, these small investments, what can we do for our collective? Right? Can we create a collective benefit for our community, our ecosystem we're trying to build of bootstrapped entrepreneurs? And if we make these simple bets in the short term, can we help, hopefully, some business owners reduce risk into making decisions in the long term? Can we help find the good ones? And can we help folks avoid the bad ones? And can we also help teach, train, equip, and learn from the lessons of what works in running these experiments? Because we're not experts at everything. Right? Service providers exist for a certain reason. The reason should be because they're the best at that, right? We all have things that we need to get done inside of our business. All right. If you're interested in this, let us know, subscribe to the video, comments below. You could find us, reach out. I think we're going to run this experiment if we can get enough interest. We put it out there, obviously, on LinkedIn. I shared the post, but we're trying to get, see if we can actually get interest in this to justify the budget, right? Outside of that, run your own simple bets. Get the template, free here below in this video, and let us know your process. Let us know, maybe create some case studies around simple bets you're running that are working for you, and then maybe we can share them over the community over at Bootstrapper Capital, where we are, building this ecosystem so that we can help more folks put profit in your pocket. We obviously invest in profit-led businesses. You can unlock up to 36K in no cost of capital. We're trying to create the most affordable and flexible performance capital of choice for profit-led business owners, right? So let us know. And until next time, trust the process, commit to the journey, make your own simple bets.